Welcome to the Catholic Life Coach Podcast. My name is Carla Fitz. I am a certified life coach, wife, and mom of two beautiful little girls. My hope for this podcast is to offer support and empower other Catholic women to live their most authentic life, to share life coaching tools from a Catholic perspective in order to help you live a more fulfilling life filled with peace, joy, and abundance. Let's get started. Welcome. I'm blessed to be here with all of you again this week. This week, I wanted to talk a little bit about your definition of success. How do we define our version of success? Because success is defined in very different ways by very different people. Not what is successful for someone is going to be the same as someone else. I have had so many people around me that their version of success is their version of success, but it is not mine. Okay? It doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It just simply means that for each one of us, success looks different. And that is okay. That is a beautiful thing. I think God gives us our version of success in order for us to go after what we dream of, to go after what we think is important to us. And he puts that, we talked about this past episode, we talked about desires. God gives us these desires in our hearts in order for us to have guidance in our life. Because I think our desires speak clearly to us on what exactly it is that he's calling us to do. And I think for us, it's such a beautiful question to ask ourselves, what does success look like for me? Not what does success look like for my parents. It is not what success looks like for my husband. It is not what success looks like to my sister. It is what success looks like for me. This was a question that I had never wondered before until a couple of years ago. I really wanted to know what that looked like for me. What did it look like? Because for so long, I was trying to follow the example or the expectation that society gives us as success. So society tells us that we have to get married, that after we get married, we have kids, and you need to make enough money to have the big giant house in the suburbs. And this might not be the same for everybody, but for me, it was the expectation that once I had a house, I needed to get a bigger house. And what I started noticing within me is that I didn't desire a bigger house. I actually started desiring a smaller house than the one I have right now. And I have a beautiful home that I absolutely am so grateful for. But then I started wondering because I moved into this house and our realtor said, this is going to be a good house for you guys for the next 10 years. But after 10 years, you'll outgrow it. And I thought, what? How can I possibly outgrow this house? And I wasn't wrong because I wasn't in my heart. In my heart, I wasn't thinking I needed a bigger house. I was just thinking, after this house, I'll just downsize. Our version of success looks different and is going to look different and is meant to look different from one another. And like I said, not one way, one version of success is going to be better than the other. I just simply believe that when we step into whom God is calling us to be, when we step into what success looks like for us, we start to really live life more truly to who we are and not so much into what society is asking us to be. I think being different, doing unique things is a gift, not just for ourselves, but for other people around us. Can you imagine how boring it would be if we all did the exact same thing? How uneventful that would be. Because the thing is, we're not all supposed to do the exact same things. And so why would success look the same for each one of us? It's silly. So when you think about it from that perspective, ask yourself these few questions. The first one is, what does success mean to me? And then also ask, what does it look like? What is it going to look like for me when I achieve this? Will I feel successful? So ask yourself, what does success mean to me and what does it look like? Please know that it is okay if someone else does not agree with this version of success. They do not need to. We're not supposed to all agree about it, and it's okay. I think the opinions of other people is just simply that, is an opinion. Check in within you and ask God. Welcome God in that moment where you're asking yourself, what does success look like for me? What is it? I want to share with you a little bit about what came up for me when I asked myself these questions. Because I had never, like I said before, I had never considered what success looked like. For me, success meant you have a job that pays really well. That was success for me. And when I realized, when I started asking myself these questions, and when you do this, make sure that you do it in a loving way. You do it in a way that you are not judging yourself, nor are you bringing into this moment with yourself and with God opinions of what's possible, of what's not possible. Don't do this to yourself. Simply ask yourself those questions and allow your brains to just dump it out onto a page when you're journaling. Because what I found about myself was that my version of success looked a lot simpler. My idea of success was spending lots of time with my girls. My idea of success looked like lots of baking in a beautiful kitchen with a beautiful view. My idea of success meant creating something meaningful in the world. What does success look like for you? What I want to tell you in this podcast is this. You get to define what success looks like for you. Because you must remember that God places these desires in our hearts for a reason. You're going to desire something, and that desire is going to define the success. What does it look like for you? For some of us, it's going to look like, I want to homeschool my children. Let me tell you, that was a surprising one for me. Never in my life I thought that I would put my girls into homeschooling. I was just like, nope. I am a teacher. You guys know this. I'm a teacher. I taught for so many years, and I was just, I believed firmly that my kids needed to be in school. And it turns out that I fell in love with homeschooling. It turns out that one of the things that I really desired was to be able to teach my girls myself. And in order for me to be aware of what success looked like, I needed to allow my brain to just dump it out into the page without judging it and allowing it to simply be there. Allowing my brain to acknowledge that I had this idea of success that looked different than a lot of people's ideas of success. I think the mistake that we make is wanting to fit in a mold that doesn't fit us. We all have a different shape of a mold. We are not meant to all fit into the same shape. So I think when we give up the idea of wanting to fit into somebody else's mold, we allow ourselves to create this version of ourselves that is truly whom God is calling us to be. If He wanted us all to be the same, we would all have the same mission. And guess what? We do not all have the same mission. He's calling each one of us for a specific purpose in very different ways. He has given us all gifts that are meant to be used to glorify Him. They're meant to be used to bring other people closer to Him. That is why we don't all have the same gifts. I can sing, I can't draw that well. I always think of like my sister and I were gifted the same gifts in two very different ways. My mom is insanely talented. She has a beautiful voice and she is amazing with her hands. She is very talented. She can draw something, she can paint something, she can create something with her hands, and it is always stunning. And Maria and I were gifted the two gifts in two very different ways. So I took the singing part and Maria took the artist part. But we both had stronger desires. I had a desire to become a singer and she had a desire to become an artist. And we followed that desire, and it was those desires that took us into the lives that we have now. And I think as long as we are willing to open up to what God placed in our hearts as His idea of success for us, we can connect better to whom we really want to be. But in order for us to open up to the question, what does success look like for me? You have to be willing to see past what your eyes can see right now. This is where faith needs to kick in, because our idea of success is possible for us. You want to know how I know that this is possible for us? Because if it was not possible for us, He would not have placed it in our hearts. But He placed it in our hearts for a reason. And I hope you spend some time digging deep into your hearts to figure out and to define what success looks like for you. It might look odd, it might look a little weird, it might look different, but different is awesome. I think for us, we need to be willing to go against the current. We need to be willing to open up to what God is calling us to do in order for us to live our best life. Do not be afraid. Don't be afraid of how this is going to pan out. Don't spend time trying to figure out the how, but instead spend time trusting and opening up to the possibilities. When we open up to our idea of success, you will find an insane amount of peace. Because when you start living into whom God is really calling you to become, you're no longer worried about what other people approve of. You start living into what God is approving of. If it is for your good, for the good of others, if it is going to help you live more peacefully, if it is going to help you live more purposefully, go do it, my friend. Open up to what success looks like for you and define success in as many details as you can, because it will give you so much clarity on what's next in your life. Go and define your version of success. Until next week, God bless. Thank you for joining the Catholic Life Coach podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to share it with a friend, leave a 5-star review, and subscribe so that you get notified as soon as the episodes are out. Also, if you are a Catholic woman who is ready to gain authority over her thinking and gain some freedom for the rest of your life, make sure to apply to work with me. I am currently looking to support 5 women who are ready to feel more peace, joy, and abundance. The link is in the description. Until next time, God bless.